got someone else who might be able to drop in, but we'll see what happens.
Oh shit! Hey. Look who's here.
That's not Inman. That's not Inman.
I thought it was Inman. Yeah.
We had Inman in the warm-up pen. He's like that caller. You go, okay, hang on, caller. We'll get to you in a minute. You've been on hold 45 minutes. Thanks for your patience. We'll get right to you.
So, caller, introduce yourself to the guests or to the hosts.
Hi, I'm Brett Erickson.
Hey, Brett.
Live from an undisclosed location.
You have internet. That's crazy.
Can you hear everything okay, Doug? Is everything working fine on Skype?
Yes. Yeah, it's perfect.
All right.
So every 5 minutes on this, I bring up being molested.
Yeah, brace yourself.
Every time I just walk through the fun house and hear this, you're talking about someone molesting someone or...
Yeah. Well, my hometown was, I don't know if it made national news.
Coquille?
Yeah, Coquille. It was frightening. Apparently, Antifa, a lot of anti-fascists were going to get together there and loot Coquille, which I've always thought, I mean, I stopped shoplifting in that town in 5th grade, not because I got better with my condition. I just didn't see there was anything to take worth, you look at so for them to be that worried about people looting Coquille, it was frightening. And then, so there's this, like a Rush Limbaugh in my hometown, this guy, he owns a bait shop in Charleston. And he was one of the leaders of this group. All these guys that don't want, well, they're pro-fascist, I guess, right? If you're anti, well,
they're morons.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
So all these fucking idiots, these fat bodies, the Coquille residents, showed up, and this is right up the street from where I grew up. And these guys were out there on a weeknight to keep Coquille, Oregon, safe from looters. Yeah. And they did it. They fucking did it.
I like that they claimed victory when the busloads of Antifa didn't show up. They claimed, we scared them away. We're winners.
Yeah, they got sidetracked and stopped at A&W for root beers, and they never quite made it downtown to Coquille proper.
It's hard for Antifa to travel these days because every town they go through, they find fascists there, so they have to stop a lot.
Yeah. So I was thinking it would be fun to organize like a Antifa, what do you call that? Get a bunch of people together, a drive, like a membership drive. And barbecue down there at Sturdivant Park is like, anyone who hates fascism, show up with some meat or your vegan choices, and we'll get a local rock and roll band and we'll play down there. And these guys will, those guys will, Nuge would be good, but those guys would be like, oh, how cool would it be to troll them with like Nuge is going to show up because he finally fucking sees the light. But yeah, they look at those guys, and that's just down the. So I got on this guy's. He was driving to his bait shop from Coquille, and he was like doing a live Facebook thing, and so I was I started making comments on it, but it's amazing. People in Coquille really
in there and unfiltered apple juice in there. Sorry, I'm getting a mimosa.
Hey, I wish I had the fixins here, but we got looted by the anti-fascist.
Took all your mimosa fixins?
No, those
bastards.
There's an anti-fascist that lives right on the other side of this glass door.
It's funny when you get to know your neighbors, because I don't know any of my neighbors. One of my neighbors has decorated their fence like a fucking 4th of July already to show how much. I live on a dirt road dead end with 4 fucking houses. Who are you trying to show your patriotism to, you morons?
Do you know how this works, Doug?
I was trying to get a drink. Just a beer, then. Just a beer.
This isn't Zoom, motherfucker. We're talking about liberating the army of Coquille, the private fucking army. But these guys, so Coquille, this guy has a call-in show on his way to work, And there were a lot of people from all over the country saying, thanks, man. I moved away from Coquille years ago, but thanks for keeping it safe. And so I started firing in comments like, I thought Coquille was always safe on a weeknight unless there was a bunch of armed retards gathering and stuff. And then he was like, okay, we're getting some negative comments in here. I can't block him till I get to the shop. So then I was like, firing him off. Missive after missive.
I should get on that nextdoor.com and start rumors of the Bisbee riots. The coming Bisbee apocalypse.
Yeah. The Bisbee and Coquille are basically have the same demographic of haters.
Yeah, Tombstone is getting some rednecks to organize to come down here and bust up the town.
Yeah, just like
set us straight in Bisbee.
See, that's what I would do is I would get all the looters saying, "Oh shit, they're gonna take over the bakery," and then I might get a couple of people and then cut that sign down. Yeah, motherfuckers, and then put it Facebook Live while they're downtown. Go Facebook Live. Antifa captures Coquille memorabilia. Just me and two hippies I paid.
They had I watched a live stream here in Sierra Vista the other day. They had like a peaceful march down to the police station. It was all just, white people, and the chief of police in Sierra Vista marched with them and stuff. And all of the comments in the live stream, look at all that Antifa in my town. People were all fucking upset.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
That's the question. Do they want fascists walking down their street?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Do they call the BLM the Black Lives Matter? Do they call it Anti-Ra? These goddamn anti-racists coming in here and tearing up our shit.
Yeah, I'm anti-racist, so I think that makes me racist.
I think so. You did too many turns.
The double negative.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I kind of see it both ways. Like I'm afraid of cops and black people.
We're men of a certain age where everything frightens us.
Yeah.
Teenagers. Yeah. I'm anti-teen.
Yeah. It's like I wasn't so nervous about cops till I saw them on all the punk rock video clips.
From the 80s?
No, from like last week.
Oh yeah.
I haven't put it to music, but it's like, yeah, damn, man. It's like even fat cops they show, but it's like, here's the thing: it's like you show a fat man swinging a bat, and it's like, let's see how long he can do that. Like there's a fat Philadelphia cop, and he's railing, and then 5 seconds later, he's probably out of breath, getting the shit beat out of him by some anti-fascist punks, some hippies. On drugs, probably.
Yeah, I think you just have to watch a couple of dead Kennedy videos to be afraid of cops.
Yeah.
No matter, it wouldn't even have to be last week. I mean, go ahead.
Has Fox suspended that? What's that show they do, Doug? The live PD, Fox Live Cops, and we're cutting to Tulsa. We're being overrun in Tulsa. We're going to cut to Tucson. Whoops, we don't want to see that. Little strong-handed out there, those protesters. Okay, we're just going to do some studio rap.
Yeah. But if I was going to a protest, I would wear a fucking proper, proper suit, not one of my goofy suits with aviator frames, and just look like you're some kind of fucking, higher up, some kind
Black
of
ops.
Yeah.
With a little earpiece.
Or just go full on lizard suit, fucking running around in an ET outfit. See who hits you in the head with a bat. It's like, we don't know why, but we got to kill you.
You'd get your house set on fire. You wore a suit in there. Twitter would be posting pictures of you with your address going, he's a cop. He's a cop. He wore a suit. Kill him.
I don't know
your logic.
Here's the thing, though. I don't want to defend what those Buffalo cops do, but why should Buffalo PD be held to a higher standard than any night elderly care nurse? My bedpan's full. Sure, yeah, okay. He's bleeding out his ears. He slipped in his own urine. He's 75.
Fuck off, Stan.
Yeah, we don't know what that guy said to the cops. He could have said something like, "Why don't you suck my old man cock, you fucking cunts?" And the cop just was like, "All right, fucker."
They've released a statement saying that he was a main agitator. He was really getting them going, I guess.
Oh, yeah, you saw that, the way he aggressively went to a line of cops.
I immediately thought he was a threat when I saw his white hair and shuffling walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want an old man walking up on you like that because he's got opinions. And you don't want to hear that shit when you're getting ready to thump some blackheads.
Beyond the cliche, he literally looked like a deer in headlights with that many people coming at him. Like, how am I going to maneuver? Like he's going down a crowded shopping aisle. Doesn't know if his basket's going to make it past all these children. He literally froze.
You know what I don't want to, I can't unlearn what I saw there. Every time I go to a mall early and there's elderly walking around, I'm going to know how easy I could shove one over and have them bleed out. Like, oh no,
If somehow the tiger at the mall gets away, you can knock down a couple elderly people.
Yeah, I would have released that. Well, here's something I did that was horrible at a mall back in college. I didn't have any pets. We had some cats that we had for a minute, but they moved out. Like, you're fucking in a bad situation where a mother cat had kittens and moved away from my apartment. It wasn't me, it was my roommates, and I don't blame it, but it took one kitten at a time until it left. And then it felt empty, so we went to a pet store and I saw there was a rat and they just wanted to give it away. It was $5. Said $5. And then we were like, hey, and it was attacking us as we just waved a finger. So we purchased that rat and took it to our apartment, and then we decided it's not going to fit in here. We're going to have to kill it. I mean, I was at this point I had a lot of problems, and
you
so
paid $5 to kill a rat. Fuck yeah, you had problems.
No, I hoped it'd work out better
for 2 seconds.
Well, I hoped it'd work out, but we didn't really buy supplies. You need a cage.
They got home and they go, we don't have anywhere to put a fucking rat. What did we do that for?
Wait. They bought the rat and what? Carried it home in your pocket? You didn't fucking buy a cage, a water bottle, the alfalfa that goes, the sawdust, the the rat food. You're just gonna let it forage.
I don't remember how we got it home, but we had it. I know we had it in our apartment, and it wasn't fitting in. We didn't have other pets that it was clashing with. It was just a rat that wanted to bite people. I don't even. It's like, isn't there some standard? You can't just put a rat and trap a rat and put it for sale. But we bought it. And we had it, and then I was like, well, we got to get rid of it. And then I decided that I was going to go out. I sat in a sauna with it for a long time, but I had my feet up and kept it down on the floor. But it's like, that's a long game to wait for a rat to die out in a hot sauna. And so then the next plan was we took it back.
Wait, Andy, was that the plan, to kill it in the hot sauna?
I thought maybe. Well, I was.
You were being humane?
I was on a lot of drugs.
The cruelest way possible.
Drowning?
It was. Look, I mean, you adopt a pet, you want it to work out, but this wasn't working out. So it's like, I'll put him in the sauna, and he'll just get. I wanted him to tire out.
He'll die of natural causes.
And then this is how
I would love to see that little thing, that little timer when something's going on, like how long since they left the pet store.
Yeah.
It's like barely 12 minutes, and it's a 8-minute drive home. You're not a pet owner.
Well, I've killed animals. I've killed animals accidentally easier than the rat went. And after the sauna, we decided, well, let's just have so we're feeding it. And I think we had it I had a roommate who could hold a rat. He had a friendly rat that he could hold it. And so we were fed it in the kitchen, and then it was like, okay, like you want to leave somebody behind at a party. And so they shoved his head into the garbage disposal, and they were going to kill it that way. And it's like, I was just eating a snack with this guy. I didn't like him, didn't care for his attitude, but I didn't want to see it go down like that. And they had a wooden spoon, and I was supposed to hit the switch on the garbage disposal. My roommate couldn't. He had his head. The rat, it was down there, just like looking. I think they put snacks down there in the garbage disposal, and then he had a spoon. I know. I wouldn't do it. I was like, God damn it, man. That's where I discovered I had too much empathy to live in this world, because I couldn't hit the switch. And then I decided, and I talked him out of murdering this thing. It's like, we bought it at the mall. Let's take it back to the mall. And that's what we did, is we took it back, and then we took it out of its, we had it, I think we just carried it in a wooden box, somebody's stash box, so it didn't have air hole. We got to the mall, and I put it in a plastic bag, and I put it under the movie. It was, I don't know if it was the movie On Golden Pond, but it had the same audience, was getting released. So I was sat on a bench, and I was like, so my roommates were up here, and I put the rat was flumping around in the bag, and I set it down, and I walked away like a terrorist. I left the rat thumping around in a plastic bag, and then I walked away, and then it was like I was up above with my roommates going, this is going to be delicious, and that rat squirts out of the bag and runs down the mall. And it's an asshole. The rat's an asshole. And but then it's like over here, it's like On Golden Ponds just released its matinee, and all these old people are walking towards where the rat's going to come out of the bag. It's fucking chaos.
I bet if you ask the rat, he has a different definition of asshole than you guys do.
Here's the sad. So, yeah, no, it was bad. I mean, no, I wasn't ready to have a pet of my own at that point.
Really?
Does this story have no closure?
It does. It's right here. So a person sat on the bench, and then saw the bag moving around. All these old people are walking towards the bag, and then that person saw what was in it, and then went grabbed the bag and walked towards, and then it disappeared. And like, oh fuck, what happened there? And then as we were leaving the mall, someone over the loudspeaker said, "Would the person or persons who left a small pet in a Mervin's bag please come and reclaim it at security?" Which we're like, no, man, we're done with that. That's your rat now. Security can have it. That's the end. That's it. Nobody got hurt, but it was like anarchy.
Hold on.
And the pet store went back and picked it up and sold it to some other asshole for another $5.
It was a fascist.
Becker had a story that even early on, I didn't really believe he actually did it, so I did it. Where I was with Scrawny Ronnie Putnam and his brother going to get fitted for tuxedos in a mall in Vegas. And we passed a pet store, so we went in, and I bought a goldfish for $1.25 or whatever, and went right over and fed it to the kittens in the kitten pen. And then the lady caught on. I paid for it. And she's like, "Sir, you can't do that." And so we just booked, and the tuxedo shop was right next door. So she came at me in the tuxedo shop, and I just took off across the food court while she kept going, "Sir, sir, sir, someone called security. Kittens don't eat fish." I go, "Well, look at the fucking flavors of cat food on a shelf."
You can't play God. You can't play God. It's not your business. I saw a buzzard eating snakes, and I was like, "Hey, knock it off!" And then I'm like, "What am I doing? Go about your business. Do what you do." Hey, do you remember, Doug? You were at my place when you were my dog. We had we were burning tax stuff in a fire, so we had a fire pit going and burning. And then you started burning money, and my daughter was like, "Doug's burning money." Like, oh great. And then our cat died, and and you were like my daughter came in and first said, your friend wants to take the cat and to return it. I'm like, what? Oh yeah. So you must have ran the idea past Delaney, and she came in and told her, and then it was you had a really good idea, and I was too sensitive and too attached to the dead animal. But you were like, so let's go to a pet store and take it back.
Yeah, go, I bought this 11 years ago, and it doesn't work anymore. Can I trade it in?
Yeah, no, it was working fine a couple days ago, but then it started smelling all toxic. But and then it was a real. But we went out and I had a hole. And Doug, I think you were drunk and distracted because like I couldn't do that. I was like, I got to get Reggie in the ground, and I put him in. And he was in a shoebox, and I dug a hole that wasn't big enough for the shoebox. So I jammed it in, and it was all fucked up. I don't know if you got to witness the graveside fiasco, but it's like I couldn't fit the shoebox in there. I dumped the corpse down there and then shovel dirt on it. And my daughter was out there with that. I think you were distracted because it's like, I'm going to bury the cat. That would have been funnier. It's like,
I remember you were burying a cat, but I don't remember the details.
Well, you were burning money, and then it was like some were going for excited. You know, I guess it was the man show checks.
Hey, Andy.
You were burning
Is
money
everyone else losing, Andy?
Yep.
Yeah. Andy, are the J Dubs broadcasting right now? Something just happened to your something just happened to your internet signal. It got really bad.
Really? Is it still bad? I can go get that plug-in thing and move it down here. Hey.
Oh wait, you're in a different location?
Yeah, I'm on.
That's what up.
I'm on the other side of where I normally do, where I get a good signal. But there is a JW thing going on. I guess. Look, they're not political, but I guess a lot of the signs are lining up, and a lot of people are going to get choppered out.
Yeah.
I don't know, 144,000 or whatever the number of Jovies that get taken to heaven. But that sounds like a lot of choppers. But really, it's only like 3 airplanes because that's the whole. There's only like 600 Jovies getting taken to heaven, and the rest of them are going to set up base camp like Sherpas. That's why the signal's fading.
Okay, thanks.
I've been
That's
taping
the short
conversations.
explanation.
Yeah, I can't tell you guys because then you would be in the truth.
Hey,
Like
Andy,
me.
I got a question
All right.
about the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are very strict that non-believers are to be basically ghosted. Do those people that come over say anything to you?
No. They know I'm an asshole. No, in fact, the other day, so I did all the backyard. I did all this shit, like redid the backyard. And so the other day I was sitting out there. I think I might have been jerking off, but I heard voices coming up the steps, so I stopped.
We just assume you were jerking off, Andy. You don't have to add that.
I'm romantic. So I talked, and I'm sitting, but I'm hidden from their view, and it's a Jovi, and it's my wife, and she's telling her how great the yard looks and what a great job I did. And then but I never heard that from her. But then they never came around the corner because I think they sensed the evil.
Oh yeah.
And then they just went down and left.
As far as the ghosting goes, like Scientology, they don't ghost you for being a non-believer, or they wouldn't be knocking at your fucking door. I think it's if you've signed up and then left afterwards.
Right. That's what I'm gonna do. Maybe that's the long con. Is go. You know, I look. I know it's probably last minute. You know, but I got it. You know, it's like getting a ticket for a band you're not that into, but you just show up last minute, and then you go, "Fuck yeah, I really like this." You can get some merch. You know, I want to can I get a picture with Jovi and then join, and then after I'm in and everybody's friends with me, and then start talking shit about everybody. Because then they got to go, all right, you're out. Because at that point, I'm subversive.
Yeah. That's a better plan, Andy. I like it. It's funnier.
Andy's doing the things that make the Jehovah's Witnesses make new rules.
Yeah, I did that. I did that on a couple of Tribble runs. Or the you
treated the audience as hostile.
Yeah, did you ever do the Richland, Washington room, Doug?
Oh, the Tri-Cities was the one gig that I got repeatedly. It was the worst gig. Tower Inn.
Yeah, the Tower Inn.
And that was. He had all these great runs, like Montana run that you loved, and Idaho. And he'd call me up. Hey, are you available for Richland again? I just did it 3 months ago, and Oh, it's the worst. One of the worst of the triple gigs.
Yeah, one of the things I was added to the contract after I was there was no mention of the nuclear power plant at all. Like nothing. Like
the fucking high school team. The high school team, their logo on their helmet, the football team, was a mushroom cloud. But we can't make jokes about the nuclear.
The isotopes.
Well, no, that was a gig where I was like, holy fuck, yeah, this is it, man. Because it was 3 days in one place. Like, Donna Richards had it for a while, and I was like, fuck yeah. And I went over there, and I was like, fuck, this is so cool to be in one place. And then it was like being on a cruise ship. It's like, oh, I keep seeing these fucking assholes everywhere, and it was horrible. And
Donna Richards had Pascoe or Kirkland.
She had the tower for a while, but then
when Tribble had tower in, she had one in one of the other Tri-Cities, Kennewick.
That was the original Comedy Wars.
Yeah, well, that's when I fucked with Dean Olson. He was doing towers in, and I was doing the other one. And I called the hotel, and that's why I said, "Yeah, this is Raul from AAA Escorts. Listen, I can't find an Asian girl. I got two white girls and a black girl that are available." And the front desk says, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Oh, I'm sorry. I need room 221." And he said he tried to explain to her that we're comedians, and she said she never would give him eye contact for the whole weekend.
Oh, the tower was like the first, there was a comedy show, and then there was a band that played afterwards. And I was like just getting, it's my first gig. I was getting really fucking shit hammered, and I was in a hot tub, and the band was in the hot tub with me. After hours, we're all partying, and then the bass player puked in the hot tub. And we're like, oh, fuck. And we got out and we got in the pool. And eventually that guy crawled out of the hot tub, got into the pool, and started chucking again in the pool. It's like,
There was Special Olympics before you could
do cameras. Oh, man, really?
Yeah, I was working with Matt Woods, and I think Becker was with me. Yes, a special needs. I don't know if it was Special Olympics, but they were special people. But one of them walked into our room because we had the door open and just sat down, and we had no idea what to do with it.
It's a lot like a comedy convention. Somebody's just a little confused, sits down in a room, and it works out all right.
Yeah, I remember Matt would say, and this is the first person I've seen smiling in this whole town.
I went to so I did that bit about the Special Olympics years ago, and then my brother works with the special needs folks, and I went to one of the Olympics and cheered on. I had an athlete, it was one of my brother's crew, the Man Baby, and he had a fun story in and of itself, but he was he was the GOAT probably of the Special Olympics. He talked a lot of shit, and he was going to
monkey with another monkey's monkey.
That's him. Don't monkey with it. He's about 80 pounds, and I was like, I'm going to go to the Special Olympics and watch this guy compete because I worked with him on Friday.
Yeah, Andy would just ride in the van with his brother and put this guy on the phone with me.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he was a man.
That's one of his quotes that he said to me was, "Don't monkey with another monkey's monkey."
Yeah. My brother David would go, "Hey Bob, do you see the monkey tree?" And he'd get all mad. Like, "I don't matter, mucking motherfucking," like, fuck, man. It's just a spider tree or a monkey tree. And then, so Bob would get all worked up and shit. My brother fucking he was a cop. Oh, okay. So, but no, that's how this works. You got it. So anyway.
Otherwise, we just sit here the whole time. You guys,
I know, Bob,
a constant loop. We'd be a snake eating its own tail. We'd have to interrupt once in a while.
Yeah. The buzzard's just choking down the snake. What happens at the end? So anyway, but Bob Gibson fixated on being a cop also. But when he was competing in the Special Olympics, I went and watched the Special Olympics. Like, I did a bit about it, how fun it is and everything. And I realized, I mean, I in high school, I was a hugger one day. I was out smoking weed, and they go, "Are you all?" They assumed we were all volunteers, and then I was a hugger for the Special Olympics. And that's how I came up with that idea of how happy they are. I didn't hug. I had to hug a, like, you know, it's like when you finish last, nobody gets a hug is how I felt. And I was just like, I would just go around like I was going to hug somebody, and then like it's a relative and you walk past them. And so I never really hugged anybody.
Coronavirus hug.
Right. So I did a Corona hug. But then, so when Bob Gibson was competing, I was watching the Olympics up in the stands, and this one guy said, "There's no mayonnaise for the hot dogs." And he looked like a normal guy. And I was like, "Really?" And then he was like, "There's no mayonnaise." And then he rattled off what his dad and his uncle and his grandpa like on their hot dogs. And I realized he was an athlete. He was just having a hot dog between events. And it's like, oh, cool, man, you know. And then I went and got some mayonnaise later, and I brought him mayonnaise, and he didn't know why I did it. But you know, we had remember, we had a long chat about this shit. But Bob Gibson,
it's my birthday.
Yeah, I go here, but he was done with his hot dog, so it was like, you know, what the fuck are you doing to me? Waiting me down with mayonnaise after I ate my hot dog, but. I'm
getting ready to fucking run a quarter mile, you dick.
I'm warming up here. I got my tracksuit off and everything. My diaper's empty. I'm ready to go.
It was like everything I envisioned. I was there. I was very happy. It's like, because people usually they're upset about shit, and this guy was just, you know, he was really upset about not having mayonnaise, but discussing it more. He wasn't like, I'm not going to eat this hot dog. He was just like, I'd like it if they had mayonnaise. And he's like, yeah, agreed, man. And then, but I was watching Bob Gibson, and I think he got either first or second in a sprint. He ran a 100-meter dash against fat retardos people, Down syndromed Americans. He was a down, but it's cool. I have a retarded friend, so it's cool. We go back and forth, and he calls me retard, and I say retarda with a soft A at the end, and he don't get offended. But he beat this guy, and he was talking shit, like, you know, he beat this guy by 10 meters, and it's like, you know, you're like 80 pounds, and that guy's like 200 pounds. But anyway, fucking great deal. But you know, but anyway, Bob Gibson, he started getting a little out of hand, and my brother had to kick him off the crew. And then he went in. He was an artist. And he painted walls with feces. So
every artist has to find their medium.
Yeah, so he sell, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, Kurt Cobain did the same thing, but he had all that music to back it up. But Bob Gibson just had a mouthful of rotten teeth, and he said a lot of squirrely shit that you wouldn't want on any work crew, really. You know. So my brother was always making excuses for this little fucker. But when he started smearing feces on the wall, it's like he became like we can't help him anymore. And so he's still with us, but he's somewhere in an institution, probably with his Man Show shirt on. That's the end of that. That's a long one.
Andy, I got a question.
Yeah.
Which brother was it that took these chaps under his wing?
Well, he was David. He drove a truck for him, and they would go around and get sensitive documents from like casinos. You know, it's like if you have
Iron Mountain where they shred them.
Oh, yeah, but you wouldn't want a bunch of normal people thumbing through your documents like that kind of thing. So the loophole.
Then you get non-readers that also had a driver's license.
It's okay, they're dummies. You're safe.
Yeah. No, when I was on the crew,
like having a eunuch guard in old Rome.
Yeah.
He's not gonna fuck my wife.
Right, exactly. But you don't notice how big that eunuch's fingers are.
So my question to you, Andy, is David, you said was doing this. What was there a scam angle to this?
Well, there would have been if I worked the crew, but
I'm saying I know he comes from your lineage, and he's doing this thing that seems a little odd.
David was the least criminal. David
I know.
When Larry committed crimes, he used David's birth date and name. That was his scam. For a long time, Larry was a hot item. Like he was on the top 5 most wanted list 2 weeks in a row, and he had a mullet. So people were fucking mad down there.
Yeah. You know who did the same thing? Butch Lord would do the same thing.
Yeah.
I was with him when he got pulled over on the back of his bike. I think it was Prescott or Payson, Arizona, one nighter. And Butch Lords got pulled over. We were both shit-faced, both on his motorcycle. And I don't have my license with me. And he said, yeah, that's all my brother's information I just gave the cops. And somehow we get out of it because we were Canadians.
Yeah. I don't think Larry should always send my brother David a Christmas or a birthday card going, hey, I remember. But Larry and David were born about a year and a month apart. So it's just real easy for Larry. But when Larry was a hot item, he had no choice but to give other information or he's going to get popped, So he did what he had to do. But eventually David got put in jail for Larry's crimes against the people in the state of Oregon.
It seems like a lot of you were the black sheep of the family. Did you guys have a white sheep of the family, or was it all shady?
Gray or black?
Who was the brother that came to Death Valley?
That was David. David's the one I like, and Larry, I appreciate his work.
Is Larry the one that fixed toasters?
Yeah, Larry's a tweaker. He's still, he lives near tweakers, but he don't mess with that shit. He's kind of on the methadone. When he can't sling, he flings or whatever. But I don't want to give up his loophole. But he's had a couple of episodes where paramedics showed up and I think he might have. Well, one time, and this is like Larry lost his ability to really be a good liar. That's what I admired about him. It's like he would fling some bullshit, and my mom believed it. My mom was I think that's true or whatever. But Larry was like, at least he made you want to believe him. But then a while back when he had an episode, and I was like, so you smoking meth again, Larry? And he goes, no, I went up there and I was in the kitchen and somebody had meth on a spoon. And he's making coffee, and then a few hours later he's naked in the backyard. Like, God damn it, that instant coffee's a real motherfucker. You gotta watch
the story. Hang on, this is an Andy story about you when the first time you smoked crack. It was an accident.
Yeah, well, Larry. So
he learns from the best.
I did. Crack and meth were both a surprise.
Hang on, was it the condo at Harvey's in Portland?
When did I smoke crack? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, there you go. My friend, who was a prison guard at the time, cleaned out his weed pipe, and I was working with Doug Stanhope, and they said, oh, you're working with Doug Stanhope, you can use the little language. It'll be an R-rated show. And at Harvey's Comedy Club, the feature's never allowed to use the R word or the F word. No F word for the middle act. And so my friend Steve was there, and he cleaned out his pipe, and we're smoking weed. And he said, let's put some of this on there. And it was this resin from his pipe. And I smoked it, and it was really good weed. And I went down and did that first show, and it's like, oh, I let loose with the F-bomb a few times. Felt good. And then I went back between shows and smoked. So I smoked this weed all weekend, and I thought they were really good shows. At the end of it, the manager guy come up, Larry, and he said, I don't know who told you could use the F word. And he goes, quite honestly, used it more than anyone in the history of Harvey's Comedy Club. So I was like, wow, that's cool, because I was only doing a short set. So it's like, really? It's like, it's just an honor to be mentioned but and then months and months later, I ran into that friend, and he goes, hey, don't tell my brother we smoke crack. And I was like, why would I tell your brother that? And he goes, yeah, when we smoke crack at the condo there. And I still was like, he goes, that resin, it was crack cocaine resin. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I got kicked out of that. I got banned for life from the club that same week, too. But it's like really good. I didn't
Isn't it funny to think back about the fact that we used to work comedy clubs where we had rules that were the same as like a TGI Fridays waitress?
Well, I think that's a Waffle House rule where don't smoke crack on the shift. Don't be. Well, yeah, no shit.
Smoke crack on your own time.
Yeah, but it's like I remember looking forward to those shows and I might have been on crack, but it felt like there were fun shows, and me and you got to know, have fun, and it was fucking fun. And it's like, this is how it should be all the time. And then I can't work there anymore. You can't pour, all the shit I did that weekend was exactly what I enjoyed about comedy.
And what you're describing
it was that club. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to tell Andy, what you're describing is why people smoke crack. Everything seems great, and you have a great time, and you.
Well, I was in a good place doing comedy. I was energetic and you
were on crack, Andy.
That's it.
It probably got me over a few of the hurdles that were keeping me. Well,
sure.
It'll definitely put a little pep in your step.
If I didn't smoke crack that weekend, I don't know that Doug would be my friend.
Chad, this bears mentioning is that Harvey's is notorious for having the guy that ran it would brag about his
telemarketing
phone room upstairs. He had a whole upstairs. It was just a bank of phones, and they'd be like, "Oh, hello, Mr. Shank. It seems that you got a birthday coming up, and we've got free tickets and appetizers." So no matter who's on stage, half the crowd is there for free, and they don't give a fuck.
I never won nothing in my life.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my mom called up after she went to see me there one time, which is a nightmare. It's like, what the fuck, Mom, you don't even know what a screwdriver is. And she's drinking, and then she goes, well, they asked me to have 2 anyway. And then she called up a couple of weeks later and said she got 1 tickets, and she was afraid she wouldn't be able to come up with a group of 10. And she said that. I've never won anything in my life. I was like, yeah, that's why you shouldn't have had kids. He should have stopped after Larry. He saw what happened with Larry and go, oh man.
So was that their thing? Their hook was like, and you got to bring 10 people. So you're basically your crowd is a bringer.
No, you don't have to, but yeah,
it's encouraged.
The phoner scared you and your mom enough to think that if I could just find 8 more people.
Well, the softer the head, that's why people go on cruises. Well, wouldn't you like to bring 8 of your friends from the nursing home out there in some sort of a shuttle bus out there to, sit up there front at a comedy? Fucking Harvey's Comedy Club I was at Harvey's Comedy Club once, and Barry, the owner, comes out and he's like, somebody trying to call up and do a guest spot. We don't do those guest spots here. It was Norm Macdonald called up to do a guest spot, and Barry was proud of the fact that he shut down some would-be comic wanting to do a guest spot pop in that he didn't know who he was.
Well, that's like Louis C.K. couldn't get past at the Comedy Store because Mitzi Shore didn't know who Louis C.K. was.
Yeah.
So he would, and all of the major headliners there, I'll talk to Mitzi, and he's like, no, I want to pass legitimately on a Monday night. She had no idea. Barry, there he is. Barry did a lot of fucking trips alone to Thailand. That's all I'll say about Barry.
Yeah, a lot of face surgeries, a lot of trips to sex tourist destinations.
Allegedly, right?
Yeah,
he flew to Thailand a lot.
No, there's a lot of guys who want to look younger and fly to Thailand all the time. They're called pedophiles. and they, I'm not saying Barry's a pedophile. I'm not saying he probably is a pedophile.
You're just saying there was probably some on his flight.
Yeah, I mean, he was, but
from the cockpit back.
They're flying alone.
Yeah, well, he probably bought shirts off of the same rack, for sure. Yeah, and he'd say shit like one time he goes, I don't know why all these comics think they can write stuff. It's like, you're a stand-up comic. Don't write scripts or don't write a book. Doug, don't write a book, because Barry's like, you'll never work Harvey's.
What was the boss's name from Office Space?
Michael.
Michael.
The boss. Remember, he thought Jennifer Aniston...
Office Space. I'm sorry.
Oh, Office Space. Yeah.
You fucked Lumbergh.
Lumbergh.
Lumbergh. He was very Lumbergh-esque.
Yeah. He always had waitresses were the bouncers as well. There was no bouncer system. It was just all these free tickets and when there was a situation. But one time there was a a bunch of trouble that started. It was and it all converged. It was all in the front, and there was a big fucking melee at Harvey's. And I sat in the upper booth there with Sue Murphy watching this fucking scrum there. But it was like, that's how that club was run. There was no fucking real bouncer talent there. So it's just, it went on and on. It was like watching a police beating video. It's like two groups that had won free tickets had a problem. And I was watching it. Here's the great part is there was a guy with a leg.
They were both fighting for their money back.
They're all
the one plate of jalapeno poppers that was gratis.
Yeah, it's when you all realize that's the end of the show and you're all disappointed and the check drops and it's like, I'm disappointed too, and they couldn't take it, and these two groups just started fighting, and there was nobody there to break it up. Remember Ken all sweaty and shit, he just stood back there. Why? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, get yourself hurt over? But there was a dude who started the fight, and he had a wooden leg, and so he got taken down hard. But I was watching, and I saw that leg come off. I was like, oh fuck, this is great. But so it was like his old man was on top of him. So it was like, two generations that didn't want to pay the check stacked on top of each other, and then there was the other group, and they were beating down this thing, and that was I don't think anybody got more joy out of watching that than I did at Harvey's Comedy Club. But it was like everybody took it too seriously. It's like, this is what you want at Harvey's Comedy Club. This was the best night that could happen. But that was Harvey's Comedy Club. A bunch of assholes.
How they say that like the weirdest shit happens when you're tripping? Like, only when you're tripping would this event happen with a guy with one leg getting a beat down. Like, Andy is his whole life has been tripping, where just the weirdest shit happens to Andy.
I remember this, the girlfriend of the guy who was underneath his old man saying, he can't get up, his leg's off. And then that's when I got out of the booth, and I was like, oh, this is fucking great. And then I walked down, and then some Oriental guy looked at me, and he said, it was probably because of your comedy. And which was hilarious. It's like I was the middle act. I mean, I can't imagine they held their raids through Sue Murphy and started a small riot, but it was.
Hey, Andy, at your special, remember the Vietnamese kid said something to you? Where are your punchlines?
Well, now he.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of. Yes.
Yeah. Where are my punchlines? He saw in Austin. He goes, where are my punchlines? And then he's been watching So Paul has it all edited together, the comedy taping. And Chris Castle's been watching it, and he watched it with that guy. Where are the punchlines? And now, so here's this new quote: "My punchlines are next Rebel." So, not only he just
part two.
Yeah, see, he's an Asian guy, so he had to watch my comedy in slow motion to get my moves. now he gets it when it's real slowed down. He's like, oh, he gets it. So that's coming. But yeah, where are my punchlines?
Have you seen the rough edit of your special?
Yeah, I watched it last night, and the opening sequence I'm going to send you guys because the opening is really good. Paul did that with some music, me shooting shit and blowing up the pig, and it's just how I kind of envisioned it. But people want me to go put it on paper. Like, no, I can't do that. It's like,
is there a way for you? Is there a way for you to get us a copy to watch here in the Funhouse?
I'll do that in the VMO, not Venmo, which is Andrew.
You mean Vimeo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
Here, I changed this to what it's. Andy, for the last 3 weeks, I put up, and I double-checked with you. It's Andy. You said Andy-Andrus, and I put it up. And then people just rained down on me this week. Hey, put the right one up. I go, well, the guy who benefits from this told me it was Andy-Andrus.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know the difference, but it's like if I had it's like that day. It's like Valentine's Day in grade school, and I'll put your name and your thing in front of your desk in anticipation of Valentine's coming. And I guess I didn't put it on my desk, or I put the wrong name. Maybe it was on somebody else's desk. But I didn't get many Valentines, and I got a few. I went to the few that found it, and I went and I got top shelf weed, so I can't complain. But I should be more clear when I'm asking for fucking Goodwill donations, But that's what happens. A lot of times they're intercepted by gangs.
Is that your correct P.O. box up there? Just want to double check.
Yeah, that is.
Did you read all the way to the end?
Yeah. And then, but Doug was talking about the crack. Every time I've ever done any kind of hard drugs, it's always by accident because you hear enough about it to get scared straight. But I think when we worked in Sacramento and the Sacramento Sirens, the women's football team showed up, and I went down and I was just smoking weed, and then some guy goes, "You want to smoke some weed?" I got some, and I was being polite. It was pre-COVID, where you do that, and he goes, "It's wet." I go, "Okay, I'll put some fire on it." And then that was code for angel dust.
I was gonna say that might mean something.
Yeah, but I thought he was, being ironic. Okay, well, I like, it's all.
Angel dust is one of those drugs that doesn't even come into the list. The cliche of the trope of, I've done every drug but heroin. Well, PCP? Well, no.
Yeah, I've done PCP outside of and it was.
What I'm saying, even when people say I've done every drug there is, they're not counting PCP because that's really fucked up.
I know. And then they don't eat. I find it offensive as a hob. I huff stuff like Joe Biden huffs women's hair. I huff substances that way. I don't do it all the time or enough to get in trouble with it, but I will appreciate the smell of some. Like, that's why I spray paint a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, this is great. And you have a lot of stuff you could spray paint. Oh yeah,
I smoked opium. I think it had to be the same weekend. Oh, the missing comic. Is the statute of limitations up before I can rat out the comic that was smoking opium?
Who was it? No, it's cool now. Are they still alive?
You know what? You're lucky I'm spacing your
hearsay.
name.
Yeah.
Well, this is back Sacramento Sirens. Renee was around.
Rhodes?
No,
not if he's a shoe thief.
Cat.
Louis Katz was on
Louis Katz?
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to smoke some opium. I'm like,
oh,
what?
So he was
the last guy you'd think would even have a drink.
Remember that? He wouldn't paint his belly. He was very reluctant to paint his belly, but he was smoking heroin.
Yeah, that's why I don't know if you see the graphic that Chaley has up. That was us.
Where's Katz at in that?
He's not in it because he wouldn't put an S on his belly because he had a date later, and then he's smoking opium.
Oh yeah, because it just says siren.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying Hitler should have done what he did, but I can see why he was annoyed by some.
You know who the other guys in that picture are, Kaylee?
No, I can't. It's not big enough for me to see.
No, you wouldn't know them, but one of those guys. It's just me, Andy, and a guy who was a process server that served me with a fucking summons at the show. They say, "Hey, you have a fan out here. Can he come in the green room?" And he goes, "I'm sorry, but you just been served." I go, "That's cool. If you want to come to the Sacramento Sirens game tomorrow, we're all going to paint our bellies." And he showed up with two of his buddies.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I didn't remember any of those guys. I knew one of them was, and me and Doug, it was on a church school campus, but it was a women's professional football game. And we tailgated, got drunk, and heckled the whole game. But we kept it clean because there was enough kids there that we were
and now the Sacramento Sirens strap on a 24-point lead.
Yeah, it was a blowout. The one where the women turned around that I did. We were working the whole game. This fourth quarter where I was like, "You picked the wrong day to wear white pants, Redding." Because they were down 52-0, and then they were like turned around. They were like, as they slowly got that, I just made a joke about them being on their period.
we were curveballing in strap-on period lesbian jokes.
We had there was one woman who was like, I mean, a lot of the Sacramento women, they look like they were, and I think they probably were women's prison guards.
D-Train.
Yeah, D-Train. I had a sign that "Marry Me, D-Train."
Yeah, we made Louis Katz hold that because he wouldn't fucking paint his belly with an S. And
that was
Julie, what was the running back?
Yeah, they had a bunch of funny names, right? Like football player names.
Well, they were good. They were legitimate. They were
tough broads,
there was
man.
That's still the most vicious thing I ever saw. Like the quarterback for the Sirens, she made a lot of the touchdowns. And there was one where there was like a Reading, one of the Reading abused housewives in uniform. She was like 5 yards deep in the end zone, and the Julie whatever, she was like, and she was already scored a touchdown, and this Reading lady should have got out of the way, but she did not, and she just buried her shoulder 5 yards deep in the end zone and planted this bitch. Just fucking planted her. Like, fucking no way did we. It's like, but that's the mismatch it was. It was like watching
73-0.
Yeah, they was. And then so Doug goes, any of them that showed up in uniform could get into the show for free.
Not pads, but jerseys.
No, yeah, just their jerseys. And they showed up, and that was like, I'm sure it would have been like being like if Wonder Woman Island was real, and you just like you're a dude and you got dropped in the middle of that. Like when they all showed up as a group, I was like smitten. I couldn't even finish my set. It was though I got lighted. Yeah, there they are. It's like all these tough women, and then a lot of them still had the waffle mark on their head from hitting women, from helmet on helmet collisions. Yeah, I'm not a woman abuser, but I would want to go out with those ladies because they would abuse you. It's like, I didn't mow the lawn, bitch. And then they're like, what'd you say? It's like, I didn't mow the lawn. Never mind. And then they're like, come at you.
I'm mowing the lawn.
Yeah, I'm doing it. After the beating, I mow the lawn. A little tough love. But yeah, is that the picture of us with them? Or is that
that's like Good Day LA or something, or Good Day
Sacramento. They were winners. Those ladies. They won.
That had to be 2003 or something.
Yeah, I still have that hat. I held on to the signed hat, but I was more smitten with them than any group of women. Just standing, it was like all these women. Some of them stunk. They didn't, they didn't shower. But I was standing. It was me and Stanhope on tour, so it was like, it was like all the body funk just kind of blends together.
Well, and, I remember that it was a Sunday last show, or that we played to them the entire show. So if people weren't familiar with the Sacramento Sirens or there that day, well, yeah, this is kind of like it was like doing a corporate for them. Yeah. Abandon your material that amuses anyone else and just fucking have fun with the Sirens.
I kind of look back on ruining comedy shows in those situations as the shows I remember. It's like, oh yeah, no, I had a show that worked out, I'm sure, but I don't really remember it. I just remember getting fired or getting walked out or ruining somebody's evening.
Smoking crack.
Well, yeah, I do remember.
All right, we have to break. So, yeah, Andy, guys, I was going to ask you that earlier, like situations that you've gotten out of because you're the comedian.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you have any, but it's something to think about at break. I got to.
We're gonna, go ahead, take off, Doug. Leave it up. I'm just gonna, we'll do a plug for the Dying of a Last Breed out right now on Vimeo, and you can also get the audio on Amazon.com. For now, they're still working it on other platforms. Chad, you can check out his Twitch feed for you go to Twitter feed HD Fatty and figure out how to get onto his Twitch and join the party over there too. It's a lot of fun and a lot of subs getting passed down at that.
A lot.
Yeah. So even just being a fly on the wall, you might end up getting in on the fun.
So do you give accurate information so that people can contribute directly to you, or do you give inaccurate information? So
no, I basically Shaylee did all of it, and it all looks right, and I know my own name, so that's helpful, Andy.
And how for people to get in touch with you to give you money.
Well, I repeated first grade twice because that's one of the things they want to know your name. So I fucked it up.
Okay, and then Andy, your website is on Wix. I think if you go to Wix.com, you can do a search on there. Brittany does your site now, so it's polished, looks great, and it's very up to date. And that's another thing we found out last week, that you had an actual working website.
Yeah, and I'll put that the intro up there, as well as I'll send that to you guys at the break.
You mean Brittany will?
Yeah, well.
All right.
Right.
You're gonna give her some credit.
No, Brittany will do that. She keeps that up to date. I don't even know how to do stuff like that. You've
We're
seen
all aware.
Me. Yeah. So
we're gonna take a break.
Beverage.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break and then get on over and do the Patreon one. So thanks a lot for hanging out. And
I thought this was the break.
Yeah, you're good.
Well,
Just sit tight.
We can do some Patreon. We can do some Patreon for your thing in the interim here.
I need to get my plug in.
We got it.
Off.
All right, guys. I'll see you in a bit.
See you in a bit. Later.